Go ahead, ma'am.
I was thinking about the Orient. There's a lot of countries in the Orient. So did the other, like Korea and Thailand, did all of those come out of the
Yeah.
combination of the two?
Indeed.
Ammon and
Indeed. They are all offsprings. So, and let me tell you, just in case we may have missed it. You go to the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese treat you like spit. Why is it that they all have that spirit towards us? You see, they have it, and not because one of them likes you means that the whole nation is good. That's that one that happens to like you. It's like you may find a Caucasian person who likes you. But guess what? You'll be the only Caucasian person that they say that they love. But they don't want everybody else. Don't bring your whole family to my house. I just like you. So it's the same thing with the Vietnamese and the Indonesians and all of those. But bear this in mind. Some of those Indonesians are us.
That's right.
But what the Most High is going to do, that's why he says this. That's why when we read the scripture, we don't understand the fullness of it. It says, the wheat and the tears must grow together until the day of harvest. And the reason why he says he must do the separating, because if we do it, we may pull up ones who are us, not realizing they're us. We are even implanted among the Caucasian race, where you'll see a Caucasian man, you think he's Caucasian. He's not. He is of you. But that's why the Most High is going to pluck him out, pluck her out, and so on. And then the nations will then plunder. All right. All right. Any other questions for anyone else? Brother? Okay. Let's go to the book, if you please, of Matthew chapter 21. We're going to begin at verse 33. I've been dying to get to this particular parable to teach it. It's a parable that is very heavy, and it needs time to break it down. That's why I've never taught this one on a Wednesday, because we need more time for it. So this is about, the title of this teaching is The Wicked Husbandman. The Wicked Husbandman. The parable of Matthew chapter 21 and 33. Officer, let's begin.
The book of Matthew, chapter 21, verse 33. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about, and digged a winepress in it, and built a tower, and let it out to husbandmen, and went into a far country. And
all right, let's begin to break that down. Now, before we break it down, let's establish some rules. A parable is an illustrational story, and all areas that are spoken of within a parable is symbolic. When we look at this, we see that the symbolicism is even with that of the laborers. And the word tower, and winepress, and husbandman, they are all symbolic of a catchment scripture or a precept that will explain it even the more. The householder in this scripture is Yahushua. He's the householder. The vineyard is the nation of Israel. To understand it more clearly, because it speaks about what did he say? He said, read it again from the top of it, please, sir.
Matthew chapter 21, verse 33. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder.
So the householder, as we've just read, he is the He is who? Who did I say he was? Yahushua. And that would make him the land owner. All right? He's the landlord, where we get the word Lord from. Then when we read on it says, which
planted a vineyard.
The vineyard is who, as I just said?
The nation of Israel.
The nation of Israel. Read.
And hedged it.
And hedged it means he put a wall around it. Continue.
Round about, and digged a winepress in it.
And he digged a winepress. We'll break down the winepress in just a moment. What else did it say?
And built a tower.
And then he did what?
And built a tower.
He built a tower. So the tower is symbolic of those who will look out and watch over and read.
And let it out to husbandmen.
So he let it out or rented it to people who would keep charge of it. Those are pastors, bishops, all of those leaders we have today. That's who the husbandsmen are. Read.
And went into a far country.
And then it says he went into a far country, meaning that he went away to a place that no one would be able to get word to him. Now, Yahushua had gone into a far country. And the reason why he uses that, because again, the illustration is to show you that where Yahushua is with Yahweh, our Father, it's in a land that's so far away, but it's a land where God himself resides. Now, no human being has seen it in the flesh. No human being has seen it in the flesh. The only time that you will ever see this land where Yahweh is that when you die and you go back in the spirit, then you have to go before him, and that's when you will see the splendor. When you leave there and you come back to earth, in terms of you're born again into a life to put on flesh, all those things you are forgotten. You forget them. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 5. Keep this verse marked because this is your go-to verse that we're going to keep coming back to. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 5. We're going to begin at verse 1. And let's begin reading, if you please.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 5 and verse 1.
Watch the correlation. Read.
Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard.
What, see that? So he said, now I'm going to sing a song. Now the song that's been sang is a song pertaining to the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's the song. That's the song that should be in our mouths. That's the song that we meditate on, as the book of Joshua actually speaks about. He says, I meditate on it day and night. That's the song. This is the song. Now, it is important, ladies and gentlemen, that you meditate on the law, statutes, and commandments. Why? Because it will help you overcome whatever it is you're going through. If you don't recognize that I'm operating under the law of the Lord, how can it make you perfect? Because the scripture says what? The law of the Lord is perfect. Converting, to convert means to change. Doing what? The law of the Lord is perfect, doing what? Converting what? The soul, and what? Making what? Making wise the simple. So that means where you are in your simplicity, he makes you wiser than those that are around you. It's in the wisdom that you get, ladies and gentlemen, that you are able to overcome whatever situation you're going through. Regardless of the financial matter, the physical depravity that you may go through, sickness and health, the wisdom of his word makes you wise to get through it. So you wonder, how is it that I came up with this idea? You didn't come up with it. It's because you stayed in the teaching of his laws, statutes, and commandments. Then then he drops it into your spirit, and you now know what to do. Isn't that amazing? But he says, but what did Joshua say? He said, you have to meditate on it day and night.
That's right.
Why day and night? Because when you're in your subconscious state of sleep, he drops it into your spirit. And when you wake up in the morning, oh, I've got an idea. I think I'm going to do such and such. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. And you wonder, where did that come from? It came because whilst you were sleeping, and because the law of the Lord is perfect and it's converting you, it's now dropping it into your spirit. And so then, when we understand that, watch what he goes back and says here. He says, read, sir.
Now I will sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved, touching his vineyard.
So he's singing to his beloved, the vineyard. And we know that the vineyard is the nation of Israel. He's singing this to you. We used to sing a song, late in the midnight hour. God's going to turn it around. Yeah, any of you know that song? You know how, don't let me get with it now, because it gets all up in your spirit. All right. And so then it says, and it goes on to say, read, sir.
My well-beloved,
read.
Have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill.
So where Jerusalem is, it's on a hill. Why? Because he holds you higher than the other nations. And therefore, when he holds you higher than the other nations, he's going to do for you more than he does for them. Now, you may say, well, it doesn't look like he's doing it now. Well, notice, those who are operating his statutes and commandments, he's making a way for them out of no way. The no way is, how do I get out of this mess in this country? How do I get through? But he's making a way. He does it slowly, but he's making a way. And he says he does it for his beloved. Read on.
Verse 2. And he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof.
So he said he fenced it, meaning, well, when he says he fenced it, means that he built a wall around it.
That's right.
He built a wall around it. He cleared everything around it. He dug it up. Go on.
And gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it.
Now the choicest vines, again, is dealing with those who he chooses.
Right.
The choicest vines are those who are the elect. That's why we have to go through this knowing that he's going to, if we are patient and faithful, we will be found worthy to be that worthy vine. Read on, sir.
And also made a winepress therein, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes.
Read.
And now,
in fact, let's just deal with the wine. Go back a bit, just read that again.
And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes.
Wild grapes, meaning it brought forth wicked grapes. Because that's the wicked among us. Because some of our people are wicked. And it uses the term wild to show that wild means uncontrolled, going off into anything, being involved in everything. When someone is wild, they say he's sowing his oats, he's wild. You see? So, this is what it's implying. Read on.
Verse 3. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem, and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, between me and my vineyard.
Read.
What could have been done more to my vineyard, that I have not done in it?
In other words, he has done everything for us.
That's right.
But we have been wicked, and therefore we have gone along with the wilderness of those things that are around us. We brought back the stones. Remember, he said earlier on that he dug it up and he removed the stones. He said he gathered up, in verse 2 he said, he fenced it and he gathered out the stones thereof. He got rid of the other nations that was there. But now guess what we've done? We've gone out, found the other nations and brought them back in there again. And we wonder why Jerusalem's in the state it's in, because we brought the other nations back in there.
That's right.
Read on, sir.
Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes.
Read.
And now, go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard.
Read.
I will take away the heads thereof.
So now he's taken away the hedge. In other words, he's taken away the things that surround you.
That's right.
He's taken away the angels that he had. Look, all of us in this room, he had put angels, and their only job is to watch you 24/7. You have personal angels. You didn't even know that. You got personal angels that watches you. Why? You are Israel. All right. Let's put it in a term that you can understand. Let's say you are a king. You got your children. Do you know your children are so precious that the world will see value in them? So guess what they have? Guess what you have to have for your children when you're not present? They call it, say, bodyguard. They call it, in today's political arena, they call it a detail. A detail of men who watches them. They don't even know that they're watching. Because their job is to make themselves as obscure as they can.
That's right.
But those men are there watching your children because to stop anyone from going to your children and taking them. Now that's what happens. You have angels who are watching you.
That's right.
Angels who are around you, detailed to watch you 24/7. That's why, you see, we shouldn't really panic, but we do panic. Because you've got people who are around, not people, you've got angels that are around you, watching you to protect you. Why? Because you are valuable.
That's right.
You're the king's kids. And then when we read them, read what it says.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. When I looked that it should bring forth grapes, it brought it forth wild grapes. Verse 5. And now, go to, I tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the heads thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down.
That happened at 70 AD. Found that in Matthew 24. Read on.
Verse 6. And I will lay it waste, it shall not be pruned, nor digged, but there shall come up barriers and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it.
Read.
For the vineyard of the Most High of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah.
See that? So now that's your confirming answer. You should underline that in your Bible. You should put a note beside it that says this ties in with Matthew 24 and 33. Beg your pardon, Matthew 21 and 33. So if you haven't done that, do it real quick. Because that lets you know that's what it's tied into. The vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel. Read.
And the men of Judah his pleasant plant.
Read.
And he looked for judgment, but behold, oppression for righteousness, but behold, a cry.
A cry. All right. So now we've basically seen that. We need to take it even further. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 24. Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 24.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 24. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it.
Read it again.
But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land.
You shall inherit their land. Read.
And I will give it unto you to possess it.
And I will give it unto you to possess it. Read.
A land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Most High, your Yahweh, which have separated you from other people.
Read on.
Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between clean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by beast, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean.
All right, we'll stop there. Now, the key that I want you to, and then hold it, jump down to verse 26, if you please.
Verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me.
Holy where?
Ye shall be holy unto me.
So we're to be holy unto the Lord our God. Read.
For I, the Most High, am holy, and have severed you from other people.
So you're not to be with other people. Read.
That ye should be mine.
That we should be his. Now, is that clear enough for us, or is that a challenge? I mean, all through the scriptures we read this, right? Yet we struggle with it. We struggle with it. I mean, another verse that jumps to mind right now as I'm reading that is Deuteronomy 32.
That's right.
And verse 8. Just run there real quick for me, please. Because he has separated you from all the other nations. Yet we want to run and put ourselves with the other. What's wrong with us? Go ahead and read it.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, and verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons...
Hold it. What did he do?
When he separated the sons of Adam.
Now, proves the point again. We find the key word, and that gives us our connection.
Okay.
When he separated the sons.
Okay.
So he separated us. Has he just separated us for show, or has he separated with a reason behind it? There's a reason behind it.
That's right.
Go ahead, finish it, sir.
When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people.
He set a boundary around the people. Go ahead.
According to the number of the children of Israel.
See? Do we need to really go any further after that? Is that crystal clear for some of us?
Yes.
But yet still, here we are. We want to go and be with everybody. In fact, just to, I shouldn't because of time, but go to Ecclesiasticus, because it's a go-to verse. Ecclesiasticus 17 and 17. But we just read it last night.
Yes, sir. In the Apocrypha, Sirach, chapter 17, verse 17. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a rule over every people, but Israel is the Lord's portion.
See, Israel is the Lord's portion. And why is it the Lord's portion? Let's read the next verse.
Verse 18. Whom, being his firstborn, he nourisheth with discipline, and giving him the light of his love, doth not forsake him.
See? So it's all there. Our separation is purposeful. Any questions so far before we go any further?
No.
Oh, all right, good. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4 and 5. Deuteronomy 4 and 5.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes.
I've taught you what?
I have taught you statutes.
Now you see how you can't escape the word statutes. I've taught you statutes, read.
And judgments.
And I've taught you judgments, read.
Even as the Most High, my Yahweh, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
So in the land where you go to possess, you have to bring the laws, statutes, and commandments with you.
That's right.
Read.
Verse 6. Keep therefore and do them.
Keep and do them. Read.
For this is your wisdom and your understanding.
This is how our wisdom and our understanding flows. Read.
In the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes.
They will hear and see the statutes enactment because of your behavior. Read.
And say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
Now you see how they call you wise and understanding because you keep the law, statutes, and commandments.
That's right.
No, well, why was this not taught in the churches before? What's your opinion? What's your thought?
My thought is that it wasn't taught because if we began to learn the law, statutes, and commandments, we would come back to ourselves soon. And thus would have caused great distress among those who were fighting against that.
Because the whole objectivity is to keep you docile, to keep you dumbed up and asleep. If a man is drugged, do you have more control over him?
That's right.
Have you noticed what they do with education? If a child happens to be too hyper, what do they do?
Drug him.
They drug him. And what that does, it stops that child from being the personality that makes that child all of a sudden becomes dumbed down. Likewise, us not having this truth, us being kept in the shadows and being hidden, what it does, it stops us from being who we are.
That's right.
All right. For time purposes, let's go back a little bit. But I want to ask some questions. Now, when we go back to Isaiah chapter 5 and 1, I'm going to ask some questions here, just very briefly. He says he gathers the stones. What are the stones that he gathers and he casts out? I gave you the answer. Don't shout it out. Just raise a hand. I see your hand. Good. He says that he gathers the stones and casts them out, referring to whom? Oh. No. So, any other hands? I see one hand so far. Then I gave you the answer earlier on. All right, I see one hand on this side. Now, I'm doing that because I need to know that you're catching this, you see. And if you're not catching it, that lets me know that. All right. The question is, in Isaiah chapter 5 and 1, what does it say about the stones? Read that about. In fact, was it verse 2 where it's talking about
Verse
stones?
2.
Yeah, read verse 2.
Isaiah chapter 5 verse 2. And he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine.
With the choicest vine. So, to whom is that referring to? I just want to say a show of hands at this point. All right, I see one. Now I see, okay, good. Now, let's begin. Industrious, tell me, who?
This is the other nation that he
All right, other nations, stop there, all right. Yourself? All right, stop there, in front. Hello?
Oh, you said the stones or the choicest vine? I'm sorry.
Not the stones.
The stones.
All right.
I think it's the nation of Israel.
All right, hold yourself.
Yeah, I started to say that earlier when I realized I was speaking out of turn. But the other nations and we're just dealing with stones right now, right?
Stones. Read it again, sir. Just read that part again.
And gathered out the stones thereof.
All right. Okay. All right, so, and you said it's the other nations, correct?
Yeah, the stones were the other nations that were cast out.
Now, please make a note of this. The stones that was cast out are the unprofitable Israelites. Because if we finish reading the verse, the clue is there. Let's read the verse in its entirety, please.
Isaiah chapter 5 verse 2.
Slowly.
And he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof.
So he gathered out, he fenced it, so he's creating. When you're fencing something, that means you're creating separation. We read that in Deuteronomy 32 and 8. Then he says he gathered up the stones, and what did he do with them?
And planted it with the choicest vine.
Go back. So he fenced it.
Fenced it and gathered out the stones
Gathered
thereof.
out the stones thereof. Read on.
And planted it with the choicest vines.
So then he planted with the choicest vines. The choicest vines here is the elect. The stones that he was throwing out is the Israelites who were wicked. These were the unprofitable Israelites. Right? So whoever said the Israelites, that's correct. Now let's go forward. The fruits or grapes to bring forth, what does that represent? Hands. He says at the latter clause of verse 2, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. So that's Israel, but it's speaking primarily of what? What does the grapes stand for? You first.
Just the grapes or the wild grapes or the grapes?
Well, grapes first. Let's deal with that. Anyone over this side? Yes? Yes. But Israel how? Because you're right, it is, but what? Yes, sir?
Taking a guess, if you said the wild grapes was the wicked, so is it the righteous?
Yes, it is righteous, but that's a specific term I want. The what? The growth of Israel? No, but a little bit more specific. Yes?
I would say the tests and trials.
Tests and trials?
To squeeze out the wheat from the tare.
I can see where you're going with that, but no. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, please make a note of this. The grapes represents wisdom. So the wild grapes were those who did not keep wisdom. But the grapes that he said that he wanted, he said, he says there, he said, what did he say? He said he wanted to bring forth grapes. He wanted to bring forth wisdom. And it brought forth wild grapes. He wanted it to bring forth wisdom. All right. What is the wild grapes then? Let's be more specific then. Could jump down to verse 4. Let's read that.
Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 4. What could have been done more to my vineyard, that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes.
So the wild grapes is what?
Wicked Israel.
Wicked Israel. Now that we know it's wicked, be more specific.
The 2/3.
Yes, that's good, but back there now.
They were
Rogue. Good, but more specific. Yes.
those who became Gentiles and start following the ways of the Gentiles that were in captivity.
All right, hold. Go on.
Those without wisdom.
Yes, that's safe. That's good. That's safe. Because I can't tell you that you're wrong, but you're absolutely right. That's safe. But I need to go specific. Yes, ma'am.
Pastors and the bishops and the leaders.
All right, hold.
Those who are not preaching the right, the truth then.
Hold. Go on.
They weren't keeping the law, statutes, and commandments.
Yes. Okay. You're all of you so far. I think you were getting a clue from what the D was saying, but here it is. Those who started to teach and receive strange doctrine. The wild grapes is strange doctrine. And that's why you weren't necessarily wrong when you said certain pastors, because here's the thing. They're the ones that's spilling this strange gospel. Because it's strange doctrine, philosophies of other nations. When you're wild, you go off into every other thing but staying where you are. When you're wild, you don't sow among your own, but you go sowing into other nations. So you become wild. You're now and when you go into them, what happens is their philosophy becomes your philosophy. Make sense so far?
Yeah.
All right. So now we have to take it a step further. Let's go to Psalms chapter 80. Psalms 80. Let's begin to build on this. Psalms 80 and verse 15.
The book of Psalms, chapter 80 and verse 15. And the vineyard which thy right hand hath planted.
Read it again.
And the vineyard which thy right hand hath planted, and the branch that thou madest strong for thyself.
Now, notice what it says. It uses this statement, and the vineyard which thy right hand hath planted. Why would it use the term right hand?
Right.
Power. Good. So, here's what I want you to understand. That's why we must not escape understanding the terms right and left, because those are pivotal with the scriptures. If you don't keep that in your mind, you will miss out some of the nuggets that the scriptures trying to talk back to us with. So, and the vineyard which thy right hand power hath planted, and the what?
And the branch that thou madest strong for thyself.
For thyself. So you can only become strong unto him because he's doing it by the right hand of his power. Still staying there, go to chapter 34 in Psalms 34 and 7. Psalms 34 and 7. All right, go ahead and read.
Psalms chapter 34 and verse 7. The angel of the Most High encampeth around about them that fear him, and delivereth them.
So, does that not tie with what we just said earlier on? That we all are encamped by angels? If you're encamped by angels, read it again, sir.
Psalm chapter 34, verse 7.
In fact, begin at 6.
Verse 6. This poor man cried, and the Most High heard him.
So, when you're in the poorness of your situation, it said he cried and the Father heard him. That's why you must cry unto the Lord, our God. Don't put yourself in a situation you shouldn't cry. Cry unto the Lord. Then what does it say?
And saved him.
And did what?
And saved him.
Read.
Out of all his trouble.
So the poor man cried unto the Lord, and he was saved out of all his trouble.
That's right.
Why was he saved out of all his trouble? The next verse gives you the reason. Read.
The angel of the Most High.
Because the angels of the Lord are what?
Encampeth.
They're encamped around you, and that's why if you're going to be in trouble and keep your mouth shut, you're going to stay in trouble.
That's right.
Imagine you've got a resource around you, and you're not doing nothing because you just won't open up your mouth. You won't say, Father, in the name of Yahweh Bashem, help me. But you're keeping quiet. Now you think he's going to help you? You're going to keep quiet? All right. I saw some questions. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. I was just thinking of a precept, Psalms 3, the whole Psalms.
Psalms 3. Let's hold that. Let's read that real quick. Then Dr. D, I'm coming to you in just one moment. Let's go to Psalms 3, verse. In fact, it's the whole one really, but go ahead.
Psalms chapter 3, verse 1. Yahweh, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me.
Read.
Many there be which say of my soul, there is no help for him in the Most High. Selah.
Salam means to pause for a moment. Go on.
But thou, O Yahweh, art a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of mine head.
Read.
I cried unto the Most High with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill.
Read.
Selah. I laid me
Now
down.
notice Selah, pause for a moment. Meaning I'm still going, but just give me a minute. I'm coming back. Go on.
I laid me down and slept. I awaked, for the Most High sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about.
Read.
Arise, O Yahweh, save me, O my Lord, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. Thy blessing is upon my people. Selah.
Selah. See, so again, if you don't say anything, you won't get anything. You've got to respond. There are angels round about you waiting to take your message. And you're not sending them over because you're keeping quiet. And oh, woe is me. Come on. See that? So this is why the scripture said you've got to cry unto him. Why? You are his vineyard. He purchased you. Anyway, Dr. D, let me hear you, because there's so much meat with this that I want to get to it.
Matthew 21 and 33.
Matthew 21 and 33.
Going back to that, could you just explain what the wine press?
Oh yes, so we're not done with that. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Matthew 21 and what? 33. All right, let's go back there.
The book of Matthew, chapter 21, verse 33. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about, and digged a winepress in it, and built a tower, and let it out of the husbandman, and went into a far country.
All right. We're going to have to go back. Okay. Let's go into Proverbs. Hold it. Daniel 12 and 1 first. Daniel 12 and 1. Daniel 12 and 1. Let's read.
The book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 1. And at that time, Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of my people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time, same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
So you have to contend to be in the book. If you're not contending to be in the book, and you're out of the book, you can cry all you want. You're going to get destroyed by the nuclear fire that's going to come. You're going to get destroyed by it. So, but when we read this now, the scripture lets us know that we have an archangel that stands for Israel. So can you imagine now, this archangel is in charge of an untold number of angels. The untold number of angels now are under his leadership. So his job is to make sure that whatever your needs are, he's going to get on it for you. That's why it says that he is the angel that stands up, and he's a great prince that stands for who? That standeth, which standeth for the children of thy people. He stands for us. You've seen that? Songs of Solomon, chapter 9 and 7, please. Songs of Solomon, chapter 9 and 7. Songs of Solomon. What? Let's begin reading. 8, yeah, and 7.
Song of Solomon, chapter 8 and verse 7. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. If a man would give all the substance of his house for love, it would utterly be condemned. Be condemned.
All right. Go back and read it again for me, please.
That's right. Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 7. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. If a man would give all the substance of his house for love, it would utterly be contemned.
Read on.
We have a little sister, and she have no breast. What shall we do for our sister in the day when she shall be spoken for?
Read on.
If she be a wall, we will build upon her a palace of silver. And if she be a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar.
Right. So so explain that. I nearly jumped ahead and started to explain, but explain that. Remember, everything is symbolical, and you see how direct it is. And so some of these things, because it uses the words no breasts, that's why they don't teach it in church. Because you don't hear these scriptures come up in church. Because in the Christian church, people become very carnal. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that, but you're not meant to feel nothing. You're just meant to read the thing and understand what it's telling you.
That's right.
All right, so let's read it again from the top, please. 7.
That's right. Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 7. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. If a man would give all his substance of his house for love, it would utterly be contemned. We have a little sister, and she have no breast. What shall we do for our sister in the day?
Now, why does it use the word breast? Because the word breast speaks of beauty. Are you with me so far? All right, go on.
When she shall be spoken for, if she be a wall, we will build upon her a palace of silver.
In other words, what she lacks in, we will provide. Go on.
And if she be a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar.
Read.
I am a wall, and my breast like towers. Then was I in his eyes as one that favored, Salaki, that found favor.
Read on.
Solomon had a vineyard at Baal-Hamon. He let out the vineyard unto keepers.
All right, so now are you seeing the parallel? He has a vineyard and he let it out to some people. If you let out some land or your house to someone, what do you expect them to pay you in your absence?
Rent.
Rent. What if they don't?
You put out evicted.
You're going to evict them. Okay. Let's see. Let's read on.
Solomon had a vineyard at Baal-Hamon. He let out the vineyard unto keepers. Every one for the fruit thereof was to bring 1,000 pieces of silver.
So they had to pay for it. Read on.
My vineyard, which is mine, is before me. Thou, O Solomon, must have 1,000, and those that keep the fruit thereof 200. Thou that dwellest in the gardens, and companions hearken to thy voice, cause me to hear it.
Cause me to hear it. Let's read the last verse.
Verse 14. Make haste, my beloved, and be thou like to a roe or to a young hart upon the mountains of spice.
All right. Now, this is a lot more loaded than what we needed, but I wanted you to read it in context so you see what it's actually speaking about a vineyard, speaking about it being rented out to others, and that they have to pay the price for the service that they're using. All right, so from here go to chapter 5 and verse 1. Chapter 5 and 1.
Song of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 1.
All right.
I am come into my garden.
I've come into my garden. Remember, we read earlier on where it spoke about the garden, right? In chapter 8 and one of the verses there. Continue.
My sister, my spouse, I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb with my honey. I have drunk my wine with my milk. Eat, O friends, drink, yea, drink abundantly, O beloved.
All right, we'll stop there because if we go any further, it leads us into more. All right. So are you seeing the parallel here? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 18 and 10. Proverbs 18 and 10. Be prepared for questions. Let's read.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 18 and verse 10. The name of the Most High is a strong tower.
Okay, now this is what I was leading to, but you know, for the time. So the tower that we read, go back if you please to Matthew 21 and 33. Read that again.
Matthew chapter 21 and verse 33. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about.
Read.
And digged a winepress in it.
Read.
And built a tower and let it out.
Now the tower, read that part again. And did what?
And built a tower and let it out to husbandmen.
All right, now let's go back to where we were in Proverbs, chapter 18 and 10.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 10. The name of the Most High is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe.
So what is a tower? No? Hold it a moment.
Oh,
This is good. All right. Hold it, brothers.
okay.
Now, I'm trying to make sure that I know who knows. If you all say, and then what happens is, then I say, then you say, oh, well, what he said, or what, I want to know that you know. Yes, sir.
The tower is a watch. It's a watch-out area where it's a watch-out area.
A tower is a watch area, yes, but that's not what I want. That's not what the scripture's telling us. All right. Okay. I'll come back to you in a moment. Anyone on this side? Well, yes, because you were hastening. So,
I just said Yahweh Shai.
what did you say?
Yahweh Shai.
What does that mean?
The tower references Yahweh Shai.
All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say protection.
Protection. Our tower is a protection, but it's really a protection only for the watchman.
Yeah.
So, but not necessarily for the people. But let's read it again, and let's read it slowly so you can see what it's telling you. Read it again, please.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 10. The name.
The what?
The name.
The what?
The name
Read.
of the Most High is a strong tower.
No, is a strong tower. So when we read the word tower, it's speaking about the name of Yahweh. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. Is that what it said?
That's right.
Go on, sir.
The righteous runneth into it and is safe.
All right, let's prove that point. Go to 2 Samuel 22 and 2, real quick. Just really quickly on that one.
2 Samuel.
Yeah, 2 Samuel 22 and verse 2. Let's see if we can prove the point.
2 Samuel chapter 22 and verse 2. And he said, the Most High is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer.
Where are you, sir? Read 3.
Verse 3. The Yahweh of my rock, in him will I trust. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation. My high tower.
Hold it. What did it say, sir?
My high tower.
Go on.
And my refuge. My Savior. Thou savest me from violence.
All right. Jump from there to verse 33.
Verse 33. Yahweh is my strength and power, and he maketh my way perfect.
Good. So, we see that we've confirmed it with the scriptures that he is a strong tower, right?
Con.
Any questions so far, ladies and gentlemen?
No.
Good so far? All right. So just making sure that we're all on the same page, because I'm not rushing too far ahead this week. I'm trying to be a little bit more disciplined for you. Okay. So I got your emails. All right. So we see that now. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. Let's deal with the husbandman. 2 Chronicles 36 and 15. All right? 2 Chronicles, what did I say?
36 and 15.
Good. Let's read.
2 Chronicles, chapter 36 and verse 15. And the Most High of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up quickly and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place.
All right, so read it again, if you please.
Yes, sir. 2 Chronicles chapter 36 and verse 15. And the Most High of their fathers sent them by his messengers, rising up quickly and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place.
Read on.
But they mocked the messengers of Yahweh.
But they did what?
But they mocked the messengers of Yahweh and despised his words.
So the messengers that came, they mocked them and despised them. Read.
And misused his prophets.
And did what?
And misused his prophets.
Misused his prophets. Go on.
Until the wrath of the Most High arose against his people, till there was no remedy.
Now, the reason why you've got to keep that verse in mind, ladies and gentlemen, because later on we're going to read back in Matthew where he sent his servants. And what did they do? With each of the servants that they send, they killed them.
That's right.
So when you read this now, that solidifies that. It gives you context. Let's read it one more time so that you read 15 and 16 again.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to be redundant. It's just that I've come to learn that sometimes if it's only read once, you will only have just one understanding. I need you to be able to explain it later. So read it again, please.
2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 15. And the Most High of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up quickly and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of Yahweh and despised his words and misused his prophets, until the wrath of the Most High arose against his people, till there was no remedy.
All right, you read both verses?
Yes, sir.
Well, go from there to Daniel chapter 9 and 10.
The book of Daniel, chapter 9 and verse 10. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Most High, our Yahweh, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets.
Read it one more time.
Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Most High, our Yahweh, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets.
Read the next verse for me, please.
Yea, all Israel, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
Is it some?
All Israel have transgressed thy law.
Read.
Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him.
All right. So is it starting to make sense to you? Ladies and gentlemen, starting to see the correlation? All right, now let's put it in context. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 21. Matthew 21 and verse 34.
Yes, sir. The book of Matthew, chapter 21, verse 34. And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen, that they might receive the fruits of it.
Now, read it one more time.
And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen.
Now, when it uses the word servants, in the original writings of this, it didn't use the word servants. Guess what it used?
Israel.
No, ma'am. Servants are who?
Slaves.
Slaves. So it sent his slaves. You see? Now, the term servant is only used to kind of pretty up, to make nice the term, because no one wants to be really a servant or a slave. So instead of being called a slave, you say, I'm a servant of blah, blah, blah. So you were going to say?
I'm sorry, sir. It was like, it's a decorative euphemism.
Absolutely. You're making something seem more than what it is, just to make it look nice. So he sent his servants, which is his slaves, and when he sent his servants to the husbandman, that they might receive the fruit of it. The fruit of it means payment. Then when we read verse 35, watch what it now says.
And the husbandman took his servants to beat one, and killed another, and stoned another.
Now you'll understand why 2 Chronicles 36 and 15 is so important. Because see, it makes sense now. Because 2 Chronicles, in fact, just hold that and run back there. That's why I had us read it twice, but I'm going to have to make sure that you are still with me. Let's go back.
22.
Yeah, so 2 Chronicles 36 and 15.
Second Chronicles chapter 36 and verse 15. And the Most High of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up quickly and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of the Most High.
See that? They mocked the messenger of the Most High. Read.
And despised his words.
Read.
And misused his prophets.
And misused his prophets. Now, you see now, here in this we're reading the fact that it was slaves.
That's right.
But the key behind it is speaking about, in terms of the propheticness of it, about his prophets. Because Israel killed his prophets. Right? So did you finish it?
Until the wrath of the Most High arose against his people, till there was no remedy.
All right. So now when we go back to Matthew 21,
34,
and we read 35, read it again.
Matthew chapter 21, verse 35. And the husbandman took his servants,
who was his slaves,
and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another.
Read.
Again, he sent other servants.
So he sent other slaves. Read.
More than the first. And they did unto them likewise.
So Yahweh was sending his prophets out to minister to the husbandmen. These are the pastors in control and leadership of the people. But they were vexing the people and making them sin. You can eat pork, it's all right. We're not under the law. You know, the law has been put away with. You good, everything's fine, my brother. But then, when we read on,
verse 37, but last of all he sent unto them his son, saying, they will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance.
Now, you can see here why all of this starts to reach a climactic point, because he sends his son.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the last thing you expect anyone to do with your son? Because he's the owner, right? But you kill him. So he sends his son, and they kill him. Let's go to 2 Chronicles 24 and 19.
Second Chronicles chapter 24 and verse 19. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Most High.
See? Read.
And they testified against them, but they would not give ear.
Read.
And the Spirit of the Most High came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, thus saith Yahweh, why transgress ye the commandments of the Most High, that ye cannot prosper, because ye have forsaken the Most High? He have also forsaken you.
Read.
And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Most High God.
So what did they do? What did they do? They killed him.
Mm-hmm.
What verse are you reading there?
Verse 21.
Verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
Verse 22. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died,
Hold it. But did what?
But slew his son.
But slew his son. Now, what are we trying to see? How the depiction in one scripture depicts the other scripture. His son being slain is a depiction of what's going to happen in this proverb that, or this parable that Yahushua is bringing up. Because Yahushua is really speaking about history.
That's right.
But he's putting it in code that only Israel can understand the mystery of what he's saying. Because he said, only the mysteries of the kingdom is given to you, Israel. That's why when you read this, you understand what it's referring to. Because now you just read where he says his son was killed. Read that again.
Yes, sir. 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 22. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him.
So Jehoiada did something good, but now it comes down to the fact that he's not remembering that, but he's about to commit a heinous crime. Read.
But slew his son, and when he died, he said, the Most High look upon it and require it.
Say again? Yes. Quickly, let's, same book, go to chapter 36 and 16. Because we read chapter 36 and 15 and 16, but read it again.
2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 16. But they mocked the messengers of Yahweh.
They mocked the messenger of Yahweh. Oh, go on.
And despised his words.
Read.
And misused his prophets.
Read.
Until the wrath of the Most High arose against his people, till there was no remedy.
See that? So everything in all of the parables, it's depicting past history. But others don't know it because the mystery is not being given to them, it's being given to us. Let's read Nehemiah chapter 9 and 26. Nehemiah chapter 9 and 26. Let's read.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 9 and verse 26. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against thee, and cast thy law behind their backs.
And they did what?
And cast thy law behind their backs, and slew thy prophets, which testified against them, to turn them to thee, and they wrought great provocations.
Now remember, they did the same thing to Stephen. Remember Stephen in the scripture?
That's right.
Yeah, well, I mean, when they stoned him to death.
They stoned him to death. So they've been killing the prophets for the longest time. This is nothing new. And you know what? If they could get away with it today, they would do it.
Speak to us, smooth things.
Well, you know, but notice who's doing it. It's our own doing it.
That's right.
Our own people killing our own people.
God.
I've never understood the mentality of how we as a people can take a gun out and shoot our own people like dogs.
That's right. And
you don't hear it publicized in the news media that a man or a young black man or woman took out a gun and shot a white man. How often do you hear that? It's almost like when you hear it, you go, really? Because we always are shooting each other. The gangs are shooting each other. Look at the woman who was pregnant with a child, and she was shot in her belly, killing the child, and the woman, the mother, whose baby was killed, she's going to jail. Does that make any sense to anyone? Makes no sense to me.
No, sir.
You shoot me in my belly, killing my child, but I'm going to go to jail, and you walk away? If this is not prophecy being fulfilled before us, I don't know what is.
That's right.
All right, we're nearly through. Let's go back, if you please. We read Nehemiah.
Yes, sir.
Let's go back to Matthew chapter 23. Matthew chapter 23. Let's just quickly pop there for a moment. And let's read verse 37.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not.
Is that precept enough for you? Read verse 28.
38.
38, yes, 38.
Verse 38. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate.
Read.
For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Most High Yah.
Right, now let's go back to 21. And let's read verse 35.
Matthew chapter 21, verse 35. And the husbandman took his servants, and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another. Again, he sent other servants, more than the first.
Read.
And they did unto them likewise. But last of all, he sent unto them his son, saying, they will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize all his inheritance.
Read on.
And they caught him, and cast him out of the vineyard, and slew him. When the Most High, therefore, when the Lord therefore of the vineyard cometh, that will he do unto those husbandmen.
So remember, these are the pastors, who are reading about.
Right.
That's why you can't go to them and bring this gospel. You bring it to them, they get upset.
God.
All right, let's go from there to Isaiah chapter 9 and 16. We're nearly through.
Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err.
Read it again.
For the leaders of this people cause them to err.
Read.
And they that are led of them are destroyed.
Are what?
Are destroyed.
Are destroyed. They become spoiled by the precepts of men.
God.
Isaiah 29 and 13.
Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 13. Wherefore the Most High said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth,
Read.
and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men.
Can't make it any clearer than that.
No, sir.
This is Edom teaching us.
Okay.
That's why, see, when we try to, people turn around and say, well, you keep saying that the church is under Protestant control. Absolutely it is. Protestant control. What does that basically mean? The Jews, they actually own the Protestant church.
Okay.
The Protestant church is one of those flagships that's used by the Roman Catholic faith. One said, well, what's the Roman Catholic got to do with the Jews? Same people, wearing different hats. So when we see this now, in fact, let's go to Matthew chapter 15 and 9. We're taught by the precepts of men that they come with their versions of what the gospel should be taught like, and they're teaching it, and we're buying it. Matthew 15 and 9, let's read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 15 and verse 9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
The commandments of men. Let's go to Micah chapter 3 and 11. We've just got a few more scriptures and we're through. All right. The book of Micah.
3 and 11.
Correct. Let's read.
Micah chapter 3 and verse 11.
Watch this.
The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire.
That's why you'll find, which is commonplace, that they will teach to get money. I never forget the time when I asked a particular preacher to come when I was back in the UK, and they wanted, they said, I want $5,000. I want you to give me $2,500 up front, and when I'm there, you can give me the rest. I said, thank you very much, but no thanks. We have people who will only preach for money. Gone are the days where they come and minister, and the church puts together a free will offering to give to them. They don't want that. Some have even turned around and said, look, I tell you what, don't bother about anything. All you do is send me my plane ticket. When I get there, I'll raise my own offering. And you have to know these are wolves in sheep's clothing. And when they get there, and never did it at the church that I pastored, no siree. But I've seen how they operate. Then they go into church and then they bleed the people. to write out checks and take out their credit cards, and then they start to have a line and say, I've got 3 lines that the Lord told me. And I want to start off with this line. And the line is, I want everyone who can give 1,000, come and give 1,000 now. And we jump up and run to that line. And I've got a special blessing that I'm going to pray on you. That's witchcraft. That's witchcraft. And then the people come and then they're given their last $1,000 that they need to pay their rent or mortgage or whatever, or school fees, and they pay it. And then the next line is the line for 500. And then the next line after that is whatever the Lord puts in your heart. Really? That's why, read it again, sir.
Malachi chapter 3, verse 11. The heads thereof.
The heads thereof. These are the heads. Read.
Judge for reward.
So they judge for reward. This is what they want. They want reward. Reward. Your attention, please. Read.
And the priest thereof teach for hire.
Teach for what?
Teach for hire.
They teach for money. Read.
And the prophets thereof divine from money. Yet will they lean upon the Most High and say, is not the Most High among us? None evil can come upon us.
Read.
Therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house as the high places of the forest.
See? Because this is the foolishness that we've come with.
That's right.
Matthew 21 and 38. Let's go back and read that. Let's read it again. 38.
Matthew chapter 21, verse 38. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance. And they caught him, and cast him out of the vineyard, and slew him.
All right, hold that. Go to Mark chapter 8 and verse 31. Let's see who killed Yahushua.
Mark chapter 8 and verse 31. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders.
Of who?
Of the elders.
Read.
And of the chief priests.
Of who?
Of the chief priests.
Read.
And scribes.
And who?
And scribes.
Read.
And be killed.
And be what?
And be killed.
Read.
And after 3 days rise again.
See that? John 1 and 11. Just quickly hit that, if you please. These are precepts you should be writing down, brothers.
John chapter 1, verse 11. He came unto his own, and his own received him not.
He did what?
And his own received him not.
He came unto his own, and his own received him not. All right, Luke 9 and 22.
Luke chapter 9, verse 22. Saying, the Son of Man must suffer many things.
Must do what?
Must suffer many things.
Read.
And be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the 3rd day.
He raised the 3rd day.
Come.
All right, let's go back. Let's read. Let's go back and read. Let's go back to 21 and read 39.
Matthew chapter 21 and verse 39. And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and slew him.
And slew him. Read on.
When the Lord thereof, when the Lord therefore of the vineyard cometh, what will he do unto those husbandmen?
Read.
They say unto him, he will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen,
Read.
which shall render him the fruits in their seasons.
These are going to be other in the kingdom leadership that will be in those positions that will rule faithfully and will not do anything to despise the word of the Most High God.
That's right.
Read on.
Verse 42. Yahushua saith unto them, Did ye never read in the scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected? The same is become the head of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes.
Read.
Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of Yahweh shall be taken from you, and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof.
Now, you must understand, that is a verse that has been misused. This is how they misuse this. They turn around and say that the Jews are no longer the inheritors, but the Gentiles now are going to be engrafted in, and they're going to be the church, and it's going to be given to us. A lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense, that is. And by the way, once you tell them that, they'll fight you over this, by the way. Oh, I'm saying they want to get all up in your face and busy, because they swear by this, because they're not going to be ruled out of the kingdom. Read it again, sir, and then read on.
Matthew chapter 21, verse 43. Therefore I say unto you, the kingdom of Yahweh shall be taken from you and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof.
That's the Gentiles. Go on.
44. And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken.
Now, when it means fall on this stone, it means that Yahushua is going to purposefully be a stumbling block. In other words, he's purposely going to make people who have been in this book for years, he's going to make them stumble and fall. Now, you might never have seen it like that, but that's what it's saying. Read that again, sir.
And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind them to powder.
Read.
And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spake of them.
Read.
But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude, because they took him for a prophet.
Selah.
Selah.
All right. Any questions from you, ladies and gentlemen, as well as those who are online? It's kind of heavy because it covers a lot. And it's a parable that we're all familiar with, but to get the understanding that the Most High wants us to get, it's then paints it into a whole new area, whole new understanding. All right. Any questions? All right. Any questions online? Doesn't appear that we have any. All right. So, let me take this opportunity then. So those of you who are listeners and watchers of this channel, we thank you again for subscribing, and again, hit the bell so that anytime that any new teachings come out, you can get that. We want to also make you aware that we have a podcast. Right now we're doing a series called The History of the Jews. Feel free to log into that and pick up the information and listen. They're only about, say, 10-15 minutes long, and able for you to pick up a lot of information that's pertinent. And you will certainly be edified even the more.
That's right.
Again, we thank you for your free will offering, for those of you that have chosen to go online to NMCC Hebrew Academy, to our online site, and to give through that. We thank you for doing that. And we want you to be aware that our podcast is dealing with, or the name that you need to log into is the Last Days Teachings. So in order to get the teaching, you've got to go to Last Days Teachings, okay? And then you'll be able to log into the podcast. Again, we thank you for your support and your blessings, and we look forward to seeing you again. Both Officer Dwayne and myself, we bid you shalom.
Shalom.
All right. Any questions from anyone?